Hello, I'm Yutaka Watanabe, a tax accountant. Welcome to the channel, Tax Accountant Nabe Solves Your Money Problems channel. Today, I'd like to talk about in small-scale M&A. This is what you should look at in expense items. We are going to examine the target company's financial documents, but this is not just some boring calculator work. Think of it more like financial detective work, uncovering the hidden truth behind the numbers. Today, I'll share the method used to expose what's really going on beneath the surface. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. First, let me ask you a slightly uncomfortable question. When you start considering an M&A deal, are you simply trusting the numbers handed to you by the other party? This happens all the time, but blindly trusting a beautifully organized official profit and loss statement, the so-called P&L, is extremely dangerous. The material strongly suggests this point as well. The near rows of numbers we first see are often nothing more than a carefully presented public story. Judging a company as profitable or unprofitable based only on the visible profits or losses shown on the surface is a trap you absolutely want to avoid in the world of small-scale M&A. So, what should you do instead? Here is an extremely important message. What matters is not the numbers themselves, but your ability to interpret what is inside those numbers. To understand the true value of a company, you need to temporarily set aside the surface level figures and financial calculations. What really matters is understanding what is actually happening behind those numbers in the real business. You need the sharp perspective of an analyst who can see through the details, not someone who simply processes numbers from left to right like a data entry clerk. This is the most important point I want to communicate today. Now, let the real detective work begin. The target we desperately need to uncover within the official P&L is non-operational expenses. Put simply, these are costs that could likely be eliminated once the business is transferred to a new management structure. The tricky part is that these expenses are often disguised as essential operating costs and hidden throughout the financial statement. Finding these hidden expenses is one of the biggest keys to success in M&A. This is where small business often reveal some familiar patterns. The material mainly points out three common types of reducible owner-related expenses. First, excessively high executive compensation. Second, clearly personal expenses such as luxury cars or golf expenses related to hobbies. Third, salaries paid to relatives who in reality perform little or no actual work. In the world of small business, the line between a company expenses and the owner's personal lifestyle cost is often surprisingly blurred. Discovering these unique hidden habits buried within company expenses is exactly where your skill becomes critical. Now comes the moment when the entire picture suddenly becomes much clearer. At first glance, official profits loaded with the owner's private expenses may not seem very attractive. But what happens when you remove all these unnecessary expenses and recalculate the company's true earning power? That's right, the hidden true value of the business begins to emerge clearly. In other words, expenses that originally appeared as simple negative costs on the financial statement can actually become future profit potential after acquisition. Exciting, isn't it? You may start thinking, wow, this business is actually much more profitable than it looked. But wait a moment. This is not the time to rush into signing the contract. As financial detectives, our work is only half finished. Organizing the current numbers is not enough. From here, we must shift our focus from the present to the future. You absolutely cannot overlook the hidden risks that may exist behind these attractive numbers. No matter how impressive the current figures appear, failing to understand the future cost structure could lead painful consequences after the acquisition. In fact, the materials end with a very serious warning. Even after successfully completing the M&A transaction, there may be heavy hidden future costs waiting ahead. Examples specifically mentioned include retirement payment for long-term employees and former executives, as well as replacement cost for aging equipment and facilities. These costs may not clearly appear in the current monthly P&L statements. However, they are like time bonds that will eventually consume the company's cash flow. It is not enough to celebrate finding the company's true current profitability. You must also incorporate these future waves of major expenditures into your business plan. So, what did you think about today's discussion on analyzing expense items? Successfully navigating small-scale M&A requires two perspectives at the same time, identifying the company's true profits by stripping away unnecessary historical and current expenses, while also anticipating hidden future costs. If you approach financial document with the perspective shared today, those cold rows of numbers will begin telling the fascinating real story of the company. For your next deal, I strongly encourage you to use this financial detective mindset to uncover the truth behind the numbers. Today, I spoke about in small-scale M&A. This is what you should look at in expense items. For more information about small-scale M&A, please also visit the website of Yutaka Watanabe Tax Accountant Office. I'll continue sharing contents focused on mine. So please subscribe to the channel Tax Accountant Nabe solves your money problems.